The global trade landscape is looking pretty shaky these days. With economic indicators flashing warning signs and stock markets showing increased volatility, it's clear that something big is brewing on the horizon. It's like a game of high-stakes poker, with countries holding their cards close to their chests. Each nation is trying to outmaneuver the others, making strategic moves and countermoves, all while keeping their true intentions hidden. And in the middle of it all is former President Trump, back in the White House and ready to shake things up again. His return to the political arena has reignited debates about trade policies and economic strategies. He's a big believer in protectionist trade policies, which is a fancy way of saying he wants to protect American jobs and businesses, even if it means throwing up some barriers to trade. This approach is designed to prioritize domestic industries and reduce reliance on foreign imports. Now, Trump's not afraid of a little trade war. In fact, he sees it as a necessary battle to ensure America's economic dominance. By imposing tariffs and renegotiating trade deals, he aims to create a more favorable playing field for American companies. He thinks America can come out on top, even if it means things get a bit bumpy along the way. His confidence is rooted in the belief that the U.S. economy is resilient enough to withstand short-term disruptions for long-term gains. He's even hinted that a recession might be a small price to pay for long-term economic success. This controversial stance has sparked a lot of discussions and debates among economists and policymakers. But not everyone's buying it. Many business leaders and citizens are skeptical, worried about the potential negative impacts on their livelihoods and the broader economy. Economists are waving their hands like they're signaling a runaway train, warning that Trump's policies could send the U.S. economy into a tailspin. They argue that the risks of a trade war could outweigh the potential benefits, leading to higher prices for consumers and strained international relations. If you found this deep dive insightful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia for more in-depth analyses on global economic trends. Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. Trump's strategy is pretty simple. Slap tariffs on goods coming into the U.S. This approach is rooted in his belief that America has been getting a raw deal in international trade for far too long. By imposing tariffs, Trump aims to level the playing field and protect American jobs. He believes that by making foreign goods more expensive, American consumers will naturally turn to domestically produced products, thereby boosting the local economy. Tariffs are basically taxes on imports, making them more expensive for American consumers. This means that everyday items from electronics to clothing could see price hikes. The idea is that these higher prices will make American-made goods more competitive. However, this also means that consumers might end up paying more for the same products they use to get at lower prices. The idea is to encourage people to buy American-made products instead. This could potentially lead to a resurgence in American manufacturing, creating more jobs and stimulating economic growth. But the reality is more complex. While some industries might benefit, others could suffer from increased production costs and reduced access to foreign markets. Trump's gone after some of America's biggest trading partners like Canada, Mexico, and China, claiming they're taking advantage of the U.S. He argues that these countries have been engaging in unfair trade practices, leading to massive trade deficits. By renegotiating trade deals and imposing tariffs, Trump hopes to bring these countries to the negotiating table and secure better terms for the U.S. But there's a problem with this approach. While tariffs might protect certain industries, they can also lead to unintended consequences. Higher costs for imported materials can hurt American manufacturers who rely on these inputs. Additionally, tariffs can strain relationships with key allies and trading partners, leading to economic and political tensions. Other countries don't just sit back and take it. They hit back with their own tariffs, targeting key American industries. This tit-for-tat escalation can lead to trade wars, which can be damaging for all parties involved. American farmers, for example, have been hit hard by retaliatory tariffs from China, leading to significant losses in agricultural exports. It's a classic case of an eye for an eye. But instead of ending up blind, we all end up with a weaker economy. Trade wars can disrupt global supply chains, increase costs for businesses, and create uncertainty in the market. This can lead to reduced investment, slower economic growth, and job losses. And that's exactly what's been happening. The uncertainty created by these trade disputes has led to volatility in the stock market, with investors reacting to every new development. Businesses are hesitant to make long-term investments, and consumers are feeling the pinch of higher prices. Since Trump's return, the global economy has been like a roller coaster on a caffeine high. Up 1 minute, down the next. This unpredictability makes it difficult for businesses to plan for the future and for consumers to feel confident in their financial stability. The question remains, will Trump's trade policies ultimately benefit the American economy, or are we headed for a recession? Let's be clear, tariffs are a blunt instrument. They're like using a sledgehammer to swat a fly. You might kill the fly, but you'll probably smash a few other things in the process. And that's the risk Trump's taking. Tariffs might protect some American jobs in the short term, but they also drive up prices for consumers, making everything from cars to washing machines more expensive. And it's not just consumers who feel the pinch. Businesses that rely on imported goods get squeezed too, leading to layoffs and uncertainty. It's basically a game of economic hot potato, with everyone hoping they're not the ones left holding the burning spud when the music stops. Canada and Mexico are like America's next-door neighbors. They share a fence and occasionally borrow a cup of sugar. But when it comes to trade, Trump's treated them more like rivals than allies. He's slapped tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, claiming they pose a threat to U.S. national security. Now let's be honest, the only threat Canadian steel and aluminum pose is to a yoga instructor trying to find a challenging enough weight. Mexico hasn't escaped Trump's wrath either. He's used the threat of tariffs to try and force Mexico to crack down on immigration, a move that's angered Mexican officials and threatened to unravel years of economic cooperation. Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. Section 5. China, a trade war titan. The trade war with China is in a league of its own. It's a clash of the economic titans with the world's two largest economies going toe-to-toe. Trump's accused China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and currency manipulation, basically playing dirty to get ahead. And he's responded with a barrage of tariffs on Chinese goods, everything from electronics to clothing. China hasn't backed down. They've retaliated with tariffs of their own, targeting American agricultural products like soybeans and pork. It's a high-stakes game of chicken, and neither side seems willing to blink first. Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. Section 6. The stock market roller coaster. Buckle up. The stock market is like a giant mood ring for the economy. When investors are feeling confident, the market goes up. When they're nervous, it goes down. And lately, the stock market's been on a wild ride, like a roller coaster designed by a sugar-crazed toddler. Trump's trade wars are a big part of the reason why. The uncertainty surrounding tariffs and trade negotiations has made investors jittery, leading to big swings in the market. One day, the market's soaring on hopes of a trade deal. The next, it's plummeting on fears of a full-blown trade war. It's enough to make even the most seasoned investor reach for the Pepto-Bismol. Section 7. Expert opinions, a chorus of concern. Most economists are about as optimistic as a goldfish in a shark tank when it comes to Trump's trade policies. They're worried that the tariffs will backfire, hurting American businesses and consumers more than they help. They argue that tariffs are a short-sighted solution to a complex problem, like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And it's not just economists who are worried. Business leaders have also sounded the alarm, warning that the tariffs are disrupting supply chains, raising costs, and hurting their bottom line. Even some of Trump's own advisors have reportedly urged him to reconsider his approach, fearing that he's playing with economic fire. Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. Section 8. The Fed's Balancing Act. The Federal Reserve, America's central bank, is like the economy's babysitter. It's their job to keep things running smoothly, even when the kids are throwing a tantrum. And lately, the Fed's had its hands full. Trump's trade wars have created a lot of uncertainty in the economy, making it harder for the Fed to do its job. They've been trying to walk a tightrope, balancing the need to keep inflation under control with the desire to support economic growth. It's a tough balancing act, and one wrong move could send the economy tumbling. Section 9. The future of trade uncertainty looms. So, what does the future hold for the global trade landscape? It's a question that has been on the minds of economists, business leaders, and policymakers around the world. The global trade environment is more interconnected and complex than ever before, and predicting its future is no easy task. Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. The variables at play are numerous and constantly shifting. From geopolitical tensions to technological advancements, there are countless factors that could influence the direction of global trade. The only thing that's certain is that there's a lot of uncertainty. Businesses must navigate a foggy landscape where the rules can change overnight, and long-term planning becomes a game of educated guesses. Trump's unpredictable nature makes it difficult to predict what he'll do next. His policies have already had a significant impact on global trade, and his next moves could either stabilize or further disrupt the market. Will he double down on his tariffs, imposing even stricter measures on imports and exports? Or will he eventually strike a deal with China and other trading partners? The negotiations are ongoing, and the outcomes are far from certain. Will his gamble pay off, leading to a stronger domestic economy and more favorable trade terms? Or will it push the U.S. economy into a recession? Only time will tell. The stakes are high and the potential consequences are significant. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be an interesting ride. The global trade landscape is like a roller coaster, full of ups and downs, twists and turns. Businesses and investors must be prepared for the unexpected. Now, let's get to the part of the show where I ask you what you think. Your insights and opinions are valuable, and they help us understand the broader picture. Do you believe that protectionist trade policies can be beneficial in the long run? Some argue that they protect domestic industries and jobs, while others believe they hinder economic growth and innovation. And what do you think is the primary reason for the recent stock market volatility? Is it the tariffs, the trade negotiations, or something else entirely? The market's reaction to these policies is complex and multifaceted. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective can shed light on these pressing issues and contribute to a more informed discussion.